So next we shall discuss one more editorial article. Okay. So based on this discussion, from tomorrow onwards, what you can do is you can start with one editorial article, and whatever the exercise that I will be discussing today, similar kind of exercise we will be carrying out for the other articles as well. Okay. So at least we can start with one article on day-to-day basis. So gradually we shall increase it to 2, 3 and so on. Okay, and so on. So here there are there are 4 to 5 articles which have appeared. So relatively I felt that this article has more content. This article is also good. Okay, it is science and technology related article, and here it is same Trump and tariff related article, and here it is constitutional related article. Yes, Bihar case, yeah, the same article. So this has some useful content from both prelims as well as mains point of view. So relatively I will give priority to this article, and we shall discuss this article. Okay, and also how to read newspaper, especially editorial articles, from exam point of view. Okay, exam point of view. So transforming early childhood care and education. Okay, so the name of the article is transforming early childhood care and education. Okay, education. So this is the. So it's visible. Okay. So what we will do is paragraph wise we shall go one by one. Okay, one by one, and also we shall list the important points in each and every paragraph. Okay, each and every paragraph. So here we shall move with first paragraph which ends here. So can we identify the keywords here? Yes. So who will read the first paragraph along with the reading? So others will help them in identifying the keywords. Okay. Yes, we can start with Soundarya.
The National Education Policy 2020 has
Assured.
Transformative changes in the educational landscape of India, particularly in the field of early childhood care and education (ECCE). While private schools have had nursery classes for long, government schools have historically admitted children mainly from class 1, thus sowing the seeds of inequality even before the start of schooling. By paving the way for the opening of preschool classes for 3 to 6 years old in government schools, previously catered to only by the Anganwadis in the public sector, the NEP has initiated a long overdue structural transformation towards equity.
Okay, towards equity. Okay. So now this paragraph it has so many points. Okay, so many points. Some points can be directly asked in prelims, and the entire content can be used in mains. The problem is when we start preparing notes, the challenge is how to prepare the notes. If you start preparing from the mains point of view, every line which you read, it starts appearing important. And also they have written in such a fashion that it excites us. So every line is interesting. But here we need to have control over those emotions, and we have to identify the points which are only important, at least for the prelims point of view, so that we can reduce the content. Okay, we can reduce the content. I hope you will be able to identify the keywords. So which are the keywords?
NEP 2020.
Okay, National Education Policy 2020. So this is the first keyword. Next. Yes. Okay, early childhood care and education. ECCE. Good. Next. Yes.
Inequality.
Anganwadi we have word. Where do we have? Yes. Where we have? Here we have Anganwadis. This is also important. I will add Anganwadis. Next. Okay. So these are the keywords that we have identified. Are there any other keywords?
Yes.
What?
Preschool classes for 3 to 6.
Where we have?
Opening of by paving lines.
Which line? By paving the way for opening of preschool classes. Okay, preschool classes. So this can be a keyword. Okay, I'll write preschool classes. Preschool classes. Okay, for 3 to 6 years old. 3 to 6 years. Next. We have any other keyword? Yes, equity. So we have a term called as equity. We have a term called as NEP is already covered. Okay. So National Education Policy 2020 is there. The keyword, we have a keyword called as early childhood education and early childhood care and education. We have Anganwadis, we have preschool classes, we have equity. Okay, we have equity. So what he is trying to say in this first paragraph? So if you look at the schooling system, when you look at the government school and private sector, so in the government school, the education starts from which class? Class 1, not from nursery. If you go to private schools, the education starts from nursery. But all these years, there was no nursery education. Okay, nursery, LKG and UKG, it was not there in government schools, it was there in private schools. Okay, it was there in private schools. So now, with the National Education Policy, they have brought the provision of preschool education as well. The school starts from first standard, so preschool, that is the children of who are 3 years old who go for nursery. So that nursery education, LKG and UKG, so that facility should also be available in the government schools. So this provision, earlier it was not there. Now it has been brought in National Education Policy. Okay, So this is the background. Okay, this is the background. Now we have already discussed about the development of education in the previous class, if you remember. So those who attended history related classes, you are aware. Okay, so one commission based on which the National Education Policy was formed in 1968. Which was that commission? Kothari Commission. Kothari Commission. That Kothari Commission 1968 policy was replaced by the policy of 1986. The 1986 policy was replaced by 2020 policy. So I mentioned, right? So who is the commission headed by whom recommended the National Education Policy? Kasturi Rangan. Okay, Kasturi Rangan. Now, so this is the background in the first paragraph. Okay, in the first paragraph. So he mentions a keyword called as early childhood care and education. So early childhood and care and education means it pertains to the children of what age? Up to 6 years of age. Okay, early childhood care and education, it pertains to the children of 6 years of age. Okay, 6 years of age. Now confusion will start prevailing. What is that confusion? We said that we do not have preschool education presently in government sector, but we have Anganwadis. Okay, so Anganwadis, they are for the children who are not, who are below the first standard, means who are 4 years old or 5 years old. Okay, so Anganwadis are there for them. But whether Anganwadis are part of the education system? The next question. Okay, the next question. When you look at the school, so while discussing about polity also we have discussed, there are various ministries. How many ministries are there in India? Approximately 60. No, that was just example I took. There are 53 ministries. I had asked you to make a list of all the ministries. Can you recall the ministries starting with A, alphabet A? Ministry of Ayush? Ministry of Agriculture? Okay, good. And the ministry starting with Y? Ministry of Youth Affairs. Okay, Ministry of Youth Affairs. So we have totally approximately around 53 ministries. Okay, 53 ministries. Now, which ministry deals with education related aspects? Ministry of Education. Previously it was called as Human Resource Development Ministry, but around 5 to 6 years back that ministry name was changed and it has now been made as Ministry of Education. So starting from first standard to 10th standard, so this education, okay, this education, it falls under, okay, broadly this education falls under Ministry of Education. Okay, Ministry of Education. Now here they used a term called as Anganwadi, right? So these Anganwadis fall under which ministry? Okay, so this Anganwadi, if it falls under Education Ministry, then it means preschool education has also been taken care by Ministry of Education. But Anganwadi, it does not fall under Ministry of Education, it falls under Ministry of Women and Child Development. Ministry of Women and Child Development. And if you look at Anganwadis, the predominant focus will not be on education. The focus will be on what aspect? With respect to food and nutrition. Okay, food and nutrition. So this is the information that has been presented in first paragraph. He speaks about equity. What is that equity? In private school, okay, we start from pre-primary, nursery, LKG and UKG. Then the student will come to first standard. In government school, so starting from first standard, the education will start. So initially, after gaining some information, when he comes to first standard, the performance of this student and person who directly goes to first standard, the performance of that student, definitely there will be a difference. So whether there exists inequity, okay, he speaks about that. So all these days there was a inequity between the government sector and the private sector, But because of the National Education Policy 2020, we are going to fill that gap by starting the preschools as well. Okay, so preschool classes as well for 3 to 6 years old. So this is the information that has been presented in the first paragraph. Okay, so in this fashion we'll go. Next, second paragraph. Yes, Rakshita.
There are three key structural shifts in ECC sector driven by NEP, with each one unfolding at different pace. Understanding these shifts and preparing for them is crucial in ensuring quality early childhood care and education for the nation's children.
Okay, so it's very broader perspective. Okay, very broad things you have mentioned. So we'll just skip it. There are three key structural shifts in the ECC sector. So there are some three important changes which you have brought, which we will be seeing later on, driven by the NEP, with each one unfolding at a different pace. So they are not given here. Later on, probably they might have given. With each one unfolding at a different pace, understanding these shifts and preparing for them is crucial in ensuring quality early education care and education for the nation's children. Okay, just understanding some of the words whose meaning you don't know. For example, it may be crucial. What is crucial? Okay, crucial is important. Okay, so whichever word, the meaning of which word we don't know, what you will do, you will write down those words and you try to understand the meaning of those words. Okay, meaning of those words. Okay, next, yes, so an expansion. Yes, Vijayalakshmi.
First, the expansion of the ECC sector are significant but often underappreciated shift is the anticipated growth of the ECC sector by the 2030. The target year for its universalization. For decades, the public sector's ECCE infrastructure had stagnated at approximately 14 lakh Anganwadi centers. This is now set to expand significantly, with the NEP paving the way for 3 preschool classes in government schools, and number of public ECC classes will increase significantly. This will have a substantial implications for personal the management, including the financing requirement, training and development of skilled ECC provides.
Okay, so we'll go to next. Okay, so here first expansion of the ECC. In the previous paragraph we saw that there are 3 important changes that have taken place. Okay, so the expansion of the ECC sector. What is the expansion of ECC sector? What is he speaking? ECC means up to 6 years of old. Previously only Anganwadis were there. Now there is an expansion. Okay, there is an expansion which is hinting at. A significant but often underappreciated shift is the anticipated growth of the ECC sector by 2030, the target year for its universalization. So here we come across a term called as universalization. So what do we understand by the term universalization in this context? Yes. Okay. Universalization throughout India, yes, to some extent, not completely. Now we saw about the equity factor, right? There existed inequity. What is that inequity? In private schools, preschool was available. In government school, it was not available. Okay. So universalization means all the children who are going to private school or government school, they should have access to preschool education. Okay, preschool education. So what is the target year that they have set under NEP? 2000 universalization. So target year is 2030. So this is how you are supposed to prepare the notes from this first line. So whatever we have here, right? So this is what we are supposed to understand, and this is how we are supposed to prepare notes. Okay, notes. For decades, the public sector's ECC infrastructure has stagnated at approximately 14 lakh Anganwadi centers. So direct figure they can ask in examination. So they will not ask 14.1, 14.2, 13.9, 14.3. How they will ask? In India, there are how many Anganwadis? Approximately 14 lakh, 15 lakh, 16 lakh, 17 lakh. There are 14 lakh Anganwadi centers in India. Okay. Anganwadi centers. How many are there presently? 14 lakh. Okay, 14 lakh. For decades, the public sector's ECC infrastructure had stagnated at approximately 14 lakh Anganwadi centers. This is now set to expand significantly. Because of the new education policy, so it is planning to start new preschools. So it is significantly going to what? Increase the infrastructure pertaining to ECC. We just understand. Okay, understand. With the NEP paving the way for 3 preschool classes. You missed it. Okay, Balvatika 1, 2 and 3. Okay, 1, 2 and 3. So under the NEP, what are the preschool classes called as? Okay, so Balvatika 1, 2 and 3. They are like what? Nursery, LKG and UKG. Okay, so under NEP. In government schools, the number of public ECC classes will increase significantly. What is public ECC classes? Early childhood care and education centers by government, they are going to increase. Already we have 14 lakh Anganwadi centers. On top of that, we are going to start Balvatikas as well. So it is going to increase. This will have substantial implications for personnel management, including the financing, recruitment, training and deployment of skilled ECC providers. Okay, so it focuses on the people who are to be recruited for this ECC. Okay, it may be Anganwadi teachers or others, it focuses on those aspects, so we shall leave it. So these are the keywords which we have identified in this paragraph. The Ministry of Education has already begun. So here we came across Ministry of Education. It means the goal of implementing NEP lies with which ministry? Ministry of Education. Ministry of Education. Ministry of Education has already begun allocating budgets under the Samagra Shiksha scheme for the ECC. We came across one more scheme. What is that? Samagra Shiksha scheme. So questions will be directly asked from the Samagra Shiksha scheme. What is Samagra Shiksha scheme? Here they are not mentioned. Okay, just they are not mentioned about the detailed features of Samagra Shiksha scheme. Just they have mentioned that under the Samagra Shiksha scheme, some funding will be provided for ECC. But when we are preparing for the examination, here we will place a question mark. What is that? What is Samagra Shiksha scheme? What does it do? So when we are preparing for the Samagra Shiksha scheme, we will not prepare information pages together. Hardly around 4 to 5 lines. What does it do? Which ministry implements it? It targets what kind of students? So around 3 to 4 lines of extra information we will be adding for Samagra Shiksha scheme. Okay, Samagra Shiksha scheme. Next, many states and union territories have begun utilizing this provision to introduce preschool classes in government schools. But some have not begun to use this provision, while others have underutilized it with some training or material being added without starting additional classes. The extent and manner of this utilization needs to be tracked. So this entire line by line information is not important. Means some states have already started implementing and some states have not yet completely started the implementation of this scheme. ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಹೋಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಫಾದರ್ ಹೆಸರು
OTP ಬಂದಿದ್ದು ನೋಡಿ ಸರ್
681153.
ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರು ಸಾಯಿಪುಸ್ತಕ ಅಂತ ಅದಾರ
ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು
ಸರಿ ಅವ್ರದ್ದೊಂದು ಐತಿ ಅವರು ಇಷ್ಟು ಮಾಡಿ
ಸಾಯಿ ಪ್ರಸಾದ್ ಪಾರ್ಸಲ್ ಐತ ಹೊರಗೈತಿ ಇದು ನಿಮ್ಮದು ಬೇರೆ ಐತಿ So some states have already started implementing it and some states have not yet begun. Here, whatever we have learnt in the static part, we should be able to connect. Education, who will implement it, center or state? It comes under concurrent list. So it is not mentioned directly in the article, but we should be able to recall and connect it. So why states are implementing, center should have implemented it? Because education falls under concurrent list. Okay, concurrent list. So you need not add here. If you are able to recall, that would be sufficient. Okay, that would be sufficient. Next, migration from Anganwadis. The first shift we saw, the goal and all. The second shift is the growing emphasis on education when compared to other ECCE services such as health and nutrition. So when I say ECCE, it includes health, it includes nutrition, it includes education. So extra point you are getting. What you will do? So when we speak about ECCE, it includes health, it includes nutrition, it includes the second shift is the growing emphasis on education when compared to the other ECC services such as health and nutrition. So before this, before NEP 2020, the focus was more on nutrition and health. So in Anganwadis, they used to focus on food, they used to focus on vaccination and all. So they did not focus on education. But now because of the new education policy, the focus is to start preschools, and the focus is now shifting to education. Okay, education. Now in the examination they may ask, which are the aspects which the ECEC focuses on? Option number 1, health, 2, nutrition, 3, education. It focuses on all the three. Okay, all the three. But Anganwadis, they focused predominantly on health and nutrition. Now the NEP, it starts focusing more on education. Okay, education. This trend is already visible in the Union Territory of Dadra and Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu, where the Union Territory has introduced a preschool class in all its primary schools, prioritizing the admission of 4 to 6 year olds. Okay. So now this example is there, right? So they said that this trend is already visible. Where it is visible? In Dadra and Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu. So in prelims, there are very rare chances that they will ask it, but in the mains you can quote. In some union territories like Dadra and Nagar Haveli, they have started implementing it. Okay, so that you can mention, not that much important point. This has resulted in a substantial migration of this age group from Anganwadis to schools. So in these union territories, rather than going to Anganwadis, they have started going to schools. Okay, it can be mentioned in mains, not important from prelims point of view. So we are not going to note down this point. Okay, we are not going to note down this point. Data shows that parents have overwhelmingly preferred preschool classes in schools over Anganwadis when given both options. So this is a parent's behavior. So parents, they are given two choices, whether you want to make your child to have proper food in the Anganwadis or you want to have your child a proper education in the schools. So what they are preferring? They are preferring schools rather than Anganwadis. This migration is largely driven by the perception that schools offer better educational opportunities. So parents have that perception that better educational opportunities are offered at schools rather than at Anganwadis. Okay, at Anganwadis. Again, not important because it's based on perception. As a result, the traditional image of Anganwadis as vibrant centers filled with toddlers is now at risk as more government schools open preschool classes and children in the 3 to 6 year age group move out of Anganwadis to schools. Now he is speaking about the threat to Anganwadis, because if the parents think that better educational opportunities are provided at preschools, then they, rather than sending them to Anganwadis, they will start sending their kids to what? Schools. Okay, schools. This is mains point of view. You can write the subjective answer. From prelims point of view, there is no point which is important. Okay, no point which is important. The Anganwadi system must adapt by emphasizing education as a part of its ECCE services. So the author of this article says that, the writer of this article says that, so Anganwadi should also start focusing on education. Okay, we should start focusing on education. The Ministry of Women and Child Development. So as I mentioned, right, so that Anganwadis, they come under Ministry of Women and Child Development. On top of that, we have extra information here. So Poshan B, Padahi B. So this is very important. Poshan B, Padahi B. Okay, initiative of which ministry? Ministry of Women and Child Development. So they should focus on nutrition, also at the same time education. So this is the initiative of Ministry of Women and Child Development. In the examination they may confuse us. So this is the initiative of Ministry of Education, true or false? Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, false. It's the initiative of Ministry of Women and Child Development. Okay, child development. However, its success depends on tangible implementation at the ground level. So here we come across a common English word called as tangible. What is tangible? Anything which is visible, anything which can be touched, anything which can be felt. Okay, tangible. So it should be clearly visible. Means whatever the goals you have set, you should be able to implement at the ground level. That is what they mean to say. Targeting an increase in measurable indicators such as the time spent by an Anganwadi worker on educational activities. Okay, so these can be achieved only when an Anganwadi worker, he spends considerable amount of time on educational activities. Generally, Anganwadi workers, they are busy cooking. They are focusing on what? Food related aspects, nutrition related activities. So the outcome you can get proper only if they increase the time on educational activities. Okay, educational activities, that is the focus. Again, not important from prelims, it can be quoted in mains. While schools cater to this demand, they need to be aware of the risks of excessive schoolification of preschooling. Again, so schools generally what they will do, they will focus on education. But if they do focus too much on education, then it will become schoolification. So 3 to 6 years old, so rather than just focusing on the academics, they should also get opportunities to enjoy, to play, to socialize. So that is also equally important. So that is a point being emphasized here. So again, it can be quoted in mains. They need to retain play at the center of this education in order to focus on the breadth of skills. Breadth of skills. So what do they say? They also need to focus on the play, because the skills will be enhanced only by reading and writing? No. For the skills to be enhanced, child has to play outside with and mingle with the outsiders. Then itself skills will increase. Okay. Can you give me an example of a skill? Communication skill. Okay. So those who start mingling with the external agents starting from the childhood days, they speak more, so easily they will socialize. There are some students who are very extraordinary in their academics, but when it comes to communication with the people, people in the society, it will be very difficult for them. So that skill is also equally important. You may be talented, but if you don't know how to communicate with the external world, then in your profession you cannot grow. So that external communication is also equally important. So this qualification, only if you focus on education, so if you do not focus on the other skills, then it will have a negative impact on the child's development. So that is what they are highlighting. The critical role of home visits. Third, the potentially most transformative shift is the possible reorientation of the Anganwadi system to focus on children aged 0 to 3 years. So Anganwadis, all these years, it focused on children from 3 to 6 years. Now, they should also focus on 0 to 3 years old through home visits rather than focusing on 3 to 6 year olds attending the centers. Okay. Research such as the preschool at 50 study in the United States and the Yale University study in Odisha, done in collaboration with Pratham, highlights the critical role of the home visits in early childhood development centers. So this paragraph, such things we will quote in mains. Such things will quote in mains. They are never going to be asked in prelims. So in mains we will quote some research done by Perry preschool at 50 study by United States, Yale University and all. They are not important from prelims. But this Pratham, it's an important NGO present in India. It can be asked in prelims as well. Okay, it produces a report. Here they are not mentioned, but in some other articles they will definitely mention. So this Pratham is important from prelims point of view. So this research, what they say is, so critical role of home visits in early childhood development programs. So the research has what results it has given. It has said that if you build a program of home visits, so that will have a positive impact on the children. Means Anganwadi teachers should visit the home and then interact with the children. So this will have a positive impact on the child's growth is what they have mentioned. Again, not important. Okay, not that much important. In India, policymakers such as VK Paul, member Niti Ayog, and NC Saxena, IAS retired, have long advocated focusing on 0 to 3 year olds with integrated child development services framework. Given the disproportionate developmental benefits during this stage, while the Prime Minister's overarching scheme for holistic nourishment, Poshan Abhiyan, has emphasized the importance of the first 1000 days of life, implementation challenges persist. Here line by line is not important. Here we came across few more important terms. So which are they? Yes, first one is Niti Ayog. So what is Niti Ayog? We'll be discussing about it while discussing about polity. Next, Integrated Child Development Services. So whatever the Anganwadis are there, right? For the same we refer as ICDS, Integrated Child Development Services. Okay, ICDS. Next, third, Poshan Abhiyan. So this Poshan Abhiyan, Prime Minister's overarching scheme. Now again we have to search which ministry implements it. Okay, we might be having some kind of confusions whether it is Ministry of Women and Child Development. Still we have a question. We'll search and we'll add it. Okay, we'll add it. Next. Okay, so these are the keywords which we will identify and we'll search more on that. Okay, so rest all the things we'll just ignore. So as per the, okay, this is important, has emphasized the importance of the first 1000 days of life. They can directly ask a question in films. So as per the Poshan Abhiyan, so the focus should be on first 10 days or first 100 days or first 1000 days. First 1000 days. So this is important. They may directly ask in films. Okay, they may ask in films. Overburdened Anganwadi workers naturally focus on 3 to 6 year olds who are physically present at the centers, leaving limited scope for the individualized services to 0 to 3 year olds through home visits. Now Anganwadi workers, they are also human beings, right? So they have to handle the Anganwadi also at the same time home visits. It will be practically impossible. So hence they will be prioritizing the children who are 3 to 6 years old and who come to the Anganwadi centers. Okay, Anganwadi centers. So here you can quote in mains what are the challenges faced by Anganwadi workers. If government schools assume responsibility over 3 to 6 year olds, we have a unique opportunity where the Anganwadi system could redirect its focus towards 0 to 3 year olds along with the care of pregnant and lactating mothers. See here, which are the keywords here? Pregnant and lactating mothers. Lactating mothers through more intensive home visits. Now what he is saying is, he is proposing a solution. What solution is he proposing? Now government is going to start preschools. Government is going to start preschools. That is Vatika 1, 2, 3. Okay. So Bal Vatika 1, 2, 3. Now there children will go for education purpose. So now these Anganwadis, they should stop focusing on 3 to 6 years old and they should start focusing on 0 to 3 years old. And also they should start focusing on pregnant women and also lactating mothers. So this is the solution being proposed by the writer. Hence not important. But we have to understand what is the meaning of pregnant women, what is the meaning of lactating mothers. Okay, so these things we have to understand. This shift, if realized, would mark a truly transformative change in India's ECCE framework. The seeds for this transition have already been sown in the NEP 2020. Okay, NEP 2020. Okay, so have we concluded the article? Yes. Now, when you are reading this article, we have extracted the points from Plim's point of view. We also understood the points from Main's point of view. So, holistic understanding we have. At the same time, we should also look at the author's writing style, how he is introducing, how he is concluding. Okay, because in the Main's answers and also in the essay, you need to understand how we have to introduce, how we have to conclude. So, unlike the academics, so generally in our academics, what we do, majority of us, okay, including me. So, what we do is generally we memorize. Okay, the set of questions are ready. So the type of answers that we are going to write, it's already ready. Okay, some small changes we may introduce, but more or less our answers will be ready. But in UPSC civil service examination, you are not aware of the questions. The type of questions which appear in the examination, they are very much dynamic. So to such kind of dynamic questions, you have to create a dynamic answer. Instantaneously you are supposed to create. So to create the answers instantaneously, that the mugging up style what we have developed, majority of us, so that will not be beneficial. We should be able to create the answers instantaneously. And this instantaneous creation of answer is possible, okay, when we start practicing. But to start practicing, at least we should have some source. We should imitate others, we should learn from others. So the best source is newspaper. You just look at the conclusion, how beautifully he has concluded. This shift, if realized, would mark a truly transformative change in India's ECCE framework. The seeds for this transition have already been sown in the NEP 2020. So these kind of sentences you should use in different context. When you start using these kind of sentences in different context, so naturally you will start using such kind of words and such kind of phrases. For example, this shift, if realized, Okay, what is a shift? For example, let's take it to UPSC aspirants. Okay, so the way they are supposed to read the newspaper, the art of reading the newspaper. So we have discussed everything, and finally we concluded this shift, if realized by an aspirant, would mark a truly transformative change in UPSC aspirants' journey. Okay, the seeds for this transition have already been sown by taking admission at Paritranaya IAS Academy. Okay, so in this format, what you have to do is, whatever the statements are there, you have to rephrase by using your own context. So when you start doing this, what happens? Gradually, you are not bahating. You are creating the sentences instantaneously. Okay, instantaneously, and this will not come in one single day. This can be achieved only through practice. Okay, through practice. So this is about what? Conclusion. Similarly, you can go for introduction. Now, all the introduction will not be beautiful, but sometimes some writers have that style of introducing. So sometimes you should get what inspired by them and just try to imitate them. The national education policy has ushered in a transformative changes in the educational landscape of India, particularly in the field of early childhood care and education. Okay, so it's very beautiful. So it just you can give a try as to how this statement can be used in your context. In your context. So in this fashion, when you are reading an article, when you are reading an editorial article, there are many dimensions. The first dimension is you will focus on the prelim's point of view, will extract the points. You will understand from mains point of view, but you will not make notes. Why you will not make notes? Because if you start making notes, then you will just reproduce the entire article. Because every line which appears in the article, it starts appearing important. Okay, important. And next, finally, what you will focus? You will focus on the art of introduction and the art of conclusion. So this art can be learnt gradually. Okay, gradually. So these are the three dimensions through which we will be reading the newspaper. Okay, reading the newspaper. So what are the keywords that we have focused in this article? So will you be able to recall? Yes. NEP 2020. Next. ECC. Next. Anganwadis. Good. Preschool. Next. Balvatika. Very good. Yes. Equity. Yes. Equity. Next. 14 lakh Anganwadis. Good. Next. Yes. Poshan B. Padai B. Good. Next. Ministry of Women and Child Development. Ministry of Education. Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan. Very good. Universalization. Very good. What is the target year? 2030. Very good. Next. In Poshan Abhiyan we have a target. What is that? First how many days? 1000 days. Next. Yes. Pratham NGO. Next. Over? Okay. So if you are able to recall this content, if you are able to recall all this content in the mains examination, you are going to write a wonderful answer. But you should know how to connect all these things. Okay. So how to connect these things, that you will learn through practice. Okay. But information, whatever the information now you have recalled, this is more than sufficient to create any mains answers with respect to what? Early childhood care. Okay, early childhood care, or the same points can also be quoted in general education related aspects. Okay, education related aspects. But at some points, the information which is presented is not sufficient. For example, Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan. Just they are mentioned. So what we have to do? We have to extract some extra information. We have to explore for more information and add that information accordingly. Okay, accordingly. So this is how we are supposed to prepare. Okay. So in one single article, so much of information has been generated. Okay. So every day, if we do this exercise for all the articles which appear in the newspaper, and if we follow diligently for one long year, we do not require any third party sources. Okay, you can become completely Atmanirbhar, self-reliant. And also the preparation, it is also going to benefit you in mains as well. So whichever magazine you are reading, you can read it. But ultimately, which is going to benefit you is newspaper. When you start reading in your own, when you start comprehending on your own, okay, so that is going to benefit you like anything. Okay. So all the other magazines, what happens? Generally they are prepared by some experts. So they will be pushing so much of information which is also not required. Okay. So here when you read newspaper, you will only retain the relevant information. All the unwanted information will be removed. So this will what? Reduce your burden. Okay, reduce your burden, and it will boost your confidence. Okay, boost your confidence. Okay. So in this fashion, the newspaper plays a very important role in both prelims as well as mains, and even in case of interview as well. So gradually when you start learning these things, you should also try to communicate with your friends in English. So all of us, we make mistakes. We are not born in England, right? So we are born in India itself. So our parents have not learned English. So ours is the first generation where we have started learning English. So generally we will make mistakes. Okay, mistakes are bound to happen. But there is a very famous quote in English. We generate fears while we sit. We overcome them by activity. So fear is the first way of, action is the first way of getting over that fear. So I am not exactly able to recall that. So first we should start involving yourself in the action. So mistakes will definitely happen, but we should make a attempt to overcome those mistakes. So gradually over a period of time, so there will be no fear left of English, there will be no fear left of any kind of information lacuna also. So all these things will be covered if you are diligent enough. Okay, if you are diligent enough. Okay. So